We have the incredible zchus today to continue in Mishna Yomi, and in Mir Hashem today we are going to be Messiahing. We are going to complete Meseches Megillah. So we are up to the last Mishnah Meseches Megillah, Perek Dalid Mishnah Yud. Chapter 4, Mishnah 10. So the Mishnah explains that there are certain things, we spoke about earlier that it used to be the practice that they would have a turgaman. They would have someone who would literally translate. They not just translate, but also expound and explain upon the reading, the Torah reading, the Haftorah. So the Mishnah now is commenting that there are certain things that we read, but we do not translate. And the reason for that is, to be clear, we're not hiding anything. The concern just is that the Turgaman has a limited amount of time to explain. And there are certain things which really need to be explained in greater depth in order for someone to truly grasp what it is that the Torah, or in certain instances the Nevi'im, are actually saying. And therefore, halacha l'maisa, the Mishnah says there are certain things that when we read them in Sibor, we don't translate them. Again, out of fear that the translation would not be accurate or would not do the particular episode justice, and people might walk away with an erroneous understanding of what they just heard. So some examples of this. So the first example is Maisa Ruvain. This refers to the episode where Ruvain moved the bed, Yaakov Avinu's bed, from the tent of Bilhah to the tent of Leah. Now the wording of the Torah indicates, it says that that Ruvain went and slept with Bilhah. But again, that's what the pasuk says. But then the commentaries, Chazal explains that says that's not what happened. In fact, again, after Rachel died, Yaakov moved his bed to the tent of Bilhah, who was the maidservant of Rachel. Reuven felt that this was an incredible affront to his mother, so he went ahead and he moved the bed. Now that's a lot of explanation, right? And again, the Torah is not really going to have the chance to go ahead and explain that correctly. So therefore, and we don't chas v'shalom want people to think that Reuven actually slept with Bilhah, with his father's wife. So therefore, again, the Mishnah says this is an example of something we read but don't translate. Nikra v'lo metargim. Maisa Tamar, Nikra u'metargim. So this is the story in Shmuel Beis where Tamar was violated by her brother Amnon. These are the children of David HaMelech. And this is a terrible, terrible, disgraceful story. But we go ahead and we read and we translate this story. Now we'll see a follow-up on that in just a moment. The story of the golden calf. Now, the story of the golden calf is essentially recounted twice. Once when it actually occurs, and then once when Moshe Rabbeinu was told about what happened. The first time we read it and we translate it. The second time we read it but we don't translate it. And the reason is because in the second time, the Torah really gives the impression that the Egel was the fault of Aaron. And again, Moshe Rabbeinu does hold Aaron HaKohen responsible. But once again, these are nuanced understandings of different things which require time for explanation. So therefore again, the Mishnah says this is an example of something that we read, but we do not translate. So the first account of the golden calf we'll read and translate. The second one we'll read, but we won't translate. Birkas Kohanim, the section of Birkas Kohanim, we go ahead and we read, but let's read it. He says, Birkas Kohanim, Maisa David va'amnon lo nikroin v'lo metargaminon, excuse me. So again, the Birkas Kohanim, which again the Bartanur explains over here, Nikra'im v'lo metargamina mishum de'ispe yisa Hashem panav elecha. So interestingly enough, Birkas Kohanim is the Bartanur explains is read but is not translated, and the reason because of that is the phrase Yisa Hashem panav elecha v'chuneka. Hashem will shine His countenance onto you and give you chin, give you favor. So people could erroneously understand this, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives us chin, gives us favor even when we sin. And in fact, that's not the case. Ma'aseh David va'Amnon, the story of David and Amnon, lo nikra'in v'lo metargaminon. Ultimately, again, is not read and is not translated. Now, we just said before that the story of Tamar, when Tamar is violated by her brother Amnon, that is read and translated. This section is not read and not translated because here it associates Amnon as the son of David HaMelech. So in order to preserve the dignity of David, we do not go ahead and read this particular section. Ein maftirin b'merkava. We do not go ahead and read the Maaseh Merkava. The Maaseh Merkava is an esoteric episode or an esoteric vision that is contained in Sefer Yechezkel. because this is something that is just simply beyond comprehension, we generally don't read it. Rabbi Huda says that halacha l'maisa, you can read it. And the reason he said you can read it is because everyone knows you're not going to understand the Maaseh Merkava. So because I'm not going to understand it, you could hear it that people won't have questions on it. Okay? Rabbi Eliezer Omer, Ein maftirin b'holde es Yerushalayim. Rabbi Eliezer says, we do not use the section of Holde es Yerushalayim, which is Yecheskel. Chapter Tes Zayin, Parak Tes Zayin, chapter 16, we do not go ahead and read that as a Haftorah, and the Bartanura says, Mishum Yikra di Yerushalayim, because ultimately, again, the Navi speaks disparagingly of Yerushalayim, and out of Kavod Yerushalayim, we do not go ahead and utilize that as a Haftorah. The Bartanura says, Ein halacha Rabbi Eliezer, the halacha does not follow Rabbi Eliezer, and in fact, we can utilize that as a Haftorah. We will stop over here for today, wishing everyone an incredible Mazel Tov on the completion of Maseches Megillah. Mazel Tov, Mazel Tov. We will continue Meretz Hashem tomorrow with Maseches Moed Katan. Looking forward to beginning the new Masechta together. Wishing everyone a wonderful day.